This episode of the Turf District podcast is brought to you by ATB. At ATB, we make banking work for you. With expert and practical advice in everyday banking and investment planning expertise and management services with ATB Wealth, you can be confident that you're making smart choices when it comes to your money. We have a history of doing what's right for our clients, especially when times are tough, because ATB was built to help Albertans. For more information, visit atb.com. Enjoy the show.
Who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. We are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Before we get to all the excitement this week, some sad news in our pod family. It was very sad to hear the passing of huge Edmonton fan Brian Edwards, also known as the Elkinator on Twitter. Although a huge Elks fan, he was a CFL fan and a friend of every fan of the game. I'm wishing him the best seats at every CFL game forever, and this show is dedicated to Brian. I'm Andrew, and as always, I'm joined by Superfan Mike. And Superfan Mike, you were the one that introduced me to Brian, so tell me a little bit about where you're coming from with over the last 24 hours.
He's a guy with a huge heart, and nobody could say they loved the league more than he did. He truly was a league with our team and with the city of Edmonton, and it was just purely unconditional with him. If someone else out there loved the CFL, you were instantly family to him. As long as you were, respectful and could join the conversation, then you became friends right away. And it's still a bit of a shock. It's only been just over 24 hours now, and we're still kind of piecing things together. But I know that I'm going to miss him a lot, and I know that a lot of people are going to miss a lot. Just seeing the outpouring of emotion and love all over social media and talking to people on the phone, I think says all you need to say about Brian.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And I love seeing the outpouring, actually. I love to see the CFL family coming together for a guy that loved the CFL. And I know it came as a shock to you. It came as a shock to me. And I know it's still difficult to talk about. But hey, I think we should do what he would want us to do, which is talk about his team. And,
absolutely.
And where we're at and the excitement of getting football back on the field. So let's talk about that. Hey, we have a season, Superfan.
We have a season. It's been a while, I guess. I'm just like, season? We've had a season for a while. All right, we haven't been here. Yeah, I think we were kind of hoping for the best, preparing for the worst kind of thing, but they went through with it. It's a 14-game season, which really isn't that far off from our regular season, just 4 games different. But it's live football, and I got to tell you, after the last 20 months almost, we need some live football.
You don't say. Yeah, and
I did say.
I actually like to. I like the fact that we're talking about a season and we're not talking about it being 8 million degrees outside, and because that season is not my favorite. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's touch wood.
I know I'm sitting in the turf district, but most of you may or may not know this was also my bedroom for the last week, so that I've had a little bit of relief. Good Lord, it was hot down there. Very exciting. 14 games. Exactly what we wanted to see is getting some football back on the field. That's the important part for us, and it'll be different. We don't know fans. We don't know how much we're going to be able to watch even training camp, anything like that. But we do know that the guys are going to be on the field and we're going to be able to see some action in the football. And to me, that's so exciting.
Absolutely. It's also going to be one of the largest training camp rosters in a long time, with 100 people allowed to be under contract here. So, that's going to be a lot of names for us to memorize, and half of them we can barely pronounce. So that's going to be... I'm just looking at the list and just even the first name right off the start, and I'm like, no, not going to try.
The part that I love is the fact that we have this depth chart that we're all going to be like, what is that one? Sure. Oh, okay. He looked all right. I like him.
He's our 7th string right tackle.
Whatever. He's wearing number 27. He's good. That's good. Yeah.
That's standard.
Yeah, we already know that. Yeah, it's very true. Before we get into that detail, actually, did we get a good comment?
We did. Well, we've been getting a bunch of good comments, but Bill Kempthorne, good friend of the podcast, said the Jimmy Gaines Award is wide open.
Yeah. Why? So should we say it's Jimmy Gaines wide? Is that what it has to be? Yeah, it's pretty much.
Sure.
Perfect. Where's Paul? We need Paul.
Exactly.
We should actually send out a couple of thanks before we get too far, because I had written these down. I want to make sure we fit those in. I want to say thanks to Travis at 2 and Out for having me on to talk about the launch of the season and kind of where things are going to go and what I was thinking about the Elks name. So that was fantastic. And you were also pod traveling superfan.
Yeah, I was chatting with Scott and Smitty over at From the 55-Yard Line podcast, and they had me on to babble on endlessly about the history of football in Edmonton going back to 115, 116 years at this point, up till, I think that we got to the 80s before we had to they cut me off due to time. So we had a good hour and a half in there just chatting, and it was much like this. It just felt like talking with friends and just talking football, and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's always a good thing. And I don't care what you say. You call it babble. I call it amazing storytelling. Like I love it. It's wonderful. So, I'm glad that we're getting to talk some football with some of our friends and getting back into it. So first reactions, we've got a 14-game season with a Grey Cup December the 12th. What was your first thoughts when you heard it was a go?
It was super excited. That was June 1st.
Yes.
That they announced the season, which is also the time I got my second dose. So I was, not feeling so great afterwards, but my phone was exploding on the way down to get my shot.
Awesome.
So it was just like, oh my God, how to answer all these questions. I thought it was a pretty solid schedule, just Fridays and Saturdays, so that's going to be great. There are a couple of later games, so a little tougher for those of us with younger kids, but, that's really picking nits at this point,
It's really what?
Nitpicking. There we go.
I totally misheard that. Okay.
Some people just hear what you want to hear.
That's correct.
It would have been nice to see more, like, just home and home kind of things, not necessarily back to back, but being able to see as many teams as possible at Commonwealth and playing away. But you know what? If that's what we're going to be complaining about, we don't care. We would just want to play some football. I wouldn't have cared if we would just played the West and then saw the East in the Grey Cup at this point. Just anything. So, but we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Just let us play. That's what we care about. Let us play. I know that for me, I was thinking about it and I thought, well, I'll take football over nothing. And
yes,
a December Grey Cup. Well, it's always nice for us to get an early Christmas present. So
it's true.
It's nothing like a green and gold hoisting a cup for Christmas. I'm okay with that.
That'd be fine by me.
Exactly. That's what I thought. Yeah. And of course, training camp is starting this week. So,
yes.
Isn't that crazy to think we went from we're not sure if we're going to play, and now we have training camp, and guys are rolling into town. It's super exciting. Now, I did get a few questions online when I posted to try and get some. So I'm going to fit a few in here. Jerry asked a ton of questions, which we love it. And thank you, Jerry Cooper.
Absolutely.
He's amazing. Hugo Agogo. Did I say that right?
You did.
Hey, sweet.
The evil villain from Batfink.
Oh, a well-known evil villain. Yeah.
It's Hugo Agogo, the mad scientist.
That's me, says Jerry Cooper.
There you go. That is.
Absolutely.
Hey, as you do that, you know what? We forgot to do this when we dedicated to Brian. Sociable, my friend.
Sociable.
So he was saying, any word on fans watching training camp? Now, we have not had an official word yet from the team, but teams across the league, I have heard from other fans and other spots that they are not allowing fans in for training camp. So there is some fairly strict COVID restriction and guidelines to start out the season. Not too sure if those are going to be carrying on throughout the entire season.
Right.
But we do know that there are some in place right now. So I have a feeling that that's going to mean there's going to be some limited access for fans to see things up front.
Yeah, I did speak with the Elks social media team just about the store itself, the team store. Yeah. People can get tickets because those people that have gone to a practice or to training camp, you have to go to the team store where someone comes up and lets you into the stadium itself and then guides you to where you'll be sitting. So if no one's going to be at the team store, no one's even getting into that part of the building, there'll be really no way for the fans to get there. So they're not entirely sure when that's going to be opening, but they will be making an announcement when it's coming. But until then, I mean, even if they wanted to have fans in the stands, they can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, unless they move training camp over to Clark, maybe.
Oh, for sure. Or they could parachute us in. I mean, I'm fine with that too.
I don't care. I hate ziplining, but if it meant I get to watch training camps, let me in. That's fine.
I'm sure that Nicole would have no problem with you on a hang glider.
Probably not. No,
there's
no risk. There's no risk there. It'll all be good.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like we haven't done it before. Come on now.
It's not at all like that.
Okay, maybe we won't do that. But I don't know if we're going to be in there. So I'm hoping to some degree that we hear about the media pass side of things, and maybe then we can get in so that we can actually give a report in our next show. I mean, I want to see them on the field. I don't have to get down to field level. I'm fine to sit in the box or underneath the box in the seats and just watch what happens.
Sure.
Like, I'm not picky.
Whatever it takes.
I'm not picky.
I'll put in a little webcam, whatever it takes.
Well, yeah, as long as we keep that stream. I know you've got it all safe. I don't have to worry about it because it's you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all scared.
That's lovely. Okay, perfect. I was saying it's cool to see the players coming back into town.
Yes.
One of the things that impressed me right away, and I know I tweeted this out, this is How to Win a Fan Base Over 101. Kevin Brown saying that he won't wear 31 this year to respect Calvin McCarty. And
OG.
I thought, he's never even played a game here, but that is a smart move. So
I think he just gets what I'm sure that at some point he was a fan before he was a player.
Yeah.
So, it's the same kind of thing, right? You just know that you're coming into a new town and this is a wildly respected and loved former player now. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and I look at it and think, okay, well, I'll have my 31 jersey though. Like that could be. So I asked him, I said, so what number are you going to wear so that we now, after all of our adoration for this wonderful move, what jersey number do we get with the new ones? And he said he doesn't know. So Jerry Cooper asked, what number is Kevin Brown going to wear this year? Do you have a guess, Superfan?
Well, I mean, we've heard from many players before where they say that single digits are slimming. So I'm going to start wearing more single digits.
I was going to say, I need a lot more single digits. I don't know what you're talking about.
So there's still, because we have so many new players and we don't know what numbers are going to get assigned, Maybe 3. I mean, Taya J wore that last, but it's been available for a while. I think 3 could be a good one. 5, that was Santos Knox.
Yeah.
So that's going to be available. 8 will be available. I mean, there's lots of different numbers.
Oh, I don't know if 8 will be available if Mr. Stafford is back.
That's true. Ooh. That is true.
Kenneth Stafford.
Because he can't get 7. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he might have to be 8. Here's my thought. I wonder if he's going to be 13. Just reverse it.
That's true. Nobody good wearing 13 ever played for us.
Well, nobody recently. I mean,
well, no one in the last year and a half has played. That's
only the guy that is now call me Michael. That's the only guy.
Yes.
But I mean, well, that's not really fair to say actually, because didn't Ricky Collins Jr. wear 13 as well?
He did.
He was fairly good.
That's why I said the last 18 months.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, okay. That yeah. Oh, you know what? I got so excited I forgot we missed last season. That's how that worked.
We're in mid-season form, clearly.
You can tell. We need training camp 2 people.
Yeah. Coach Vic says we should give him the biggest double digits we can.
Oh, so maybe he's the one that's finally going to get 100.
There we go.
Finally.
He's going to have several significant digits.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. All 3. Yeah, that's going to be...
Maybe 88. That's about as rounding as you can, I guess.
77, going after the love of AJ Gass, maybe?
That's true.
Oh, see, it's all these plans. I'm so excited.
We'll be talking about him shortly, too.
Yes, we will. In the wrong way, but yes, we will be talking about him. Right. So you talked about the schedule a little bit there, Superfan. We've got lots of all Friday, Saturday nights, which is great. I kind of broke it down a little bit, and I know you sent this to me as well. So we've got two home, then 3 away, including Labor Day. 2 home again, then a bye week. 2 away, 1 home, a bye week, and then it goes home away for the last 4 games.
Yep.
So balance. I don't mind that at all. Although I was kind of hoping that we'd have more hot games because people had to play in the West, but I'm again not complaining, just saying that it was it's an interesting I think there is balance throughout the schedule where we don't have the
100%.
super long homestand or the super long road trip, and I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that should be great. Like having the 2 right off the start with Ottawa and Montreal, I think is great. I would like to get some more Western teams kind of to start, but again, we're just really nitpicking at this point. We're talking we've got an earlier start right away versus Montreal. It's a 5:00 start. Mm-hmm. So that's really great for families. The first one is an 8:00 start, so you're not getting home until after midnight at that point.
Which is fine because we're still celebrating at that point.
Yes, that's true. But the kids may be like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Or maybe that's me. Maybe that's what I'm saying.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's just kids, but
yeah.
See that now. I'm curious to see how this actually plays out because again, we haven't heard anything about what restrictions there may or may not be in the stadium, and so I wonder how many kids will be there because a lot of them are going to be not even
Under
eligible
12.
to get that first vax yet, right? And so, like I know for us, my older one, Riley, he should have double by then. So maybe I feel better taking him, but. Nate will not even have had 1 yet. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But I know hopefully as we get farther into the season, then we should be able to have them come in for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing is even if they're like, to bring them all, whatever, I don't know necessarily we'd feel comfortable bringing unvaccinated kids in there, especially those unvaccinated kids that maybe will be seeing grandparents and things like that, people that are going to be a little more susceptible to the variants and things like that, right? So
yeah, so we're going to have to play that out, and the whole season's going to be odd that way because you never, not like we're used to constant change or anything, but these are the things we'll have to deal with. I think we have we have twice that we only have 5 days in between games. One is an early one against BC. And then we have another one for the Labor Day rematch. But other than that, we're spaced out really well. We have one Tuesday night game in Ottawa, but that's after bye week. So we get like 11 days and then we have the Tuesday game. So that's not horrible. Interesting though, all the back-to-backs we have this year. So we've got Calgary back-to-back Labor Day. Then we've got Winnipeg. back-to-back. Yeah. And then we've got Saskatchewan back-to-back later in the season. So, and we almost, in one part of the schedule, what did they call it? The Stamptober or something in for Saskatchewan. They only play the Stampeders that month.
Oh, nice.
We came close to that with Winnipeg, but there's one game in the middle. So we're
the Ottawa game, on the Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of an interesting schedule. We don't get to see Toronto or BC here this year, and then we don't go to Hamilton or Montreal. So not going to Hamilton this year, I'm probably okay with that. We can go to Hamilton at the end of the year.
Say, we're going to Hamilton this year.
Yeah, you've beat me to the joke. Yeah, that's.
Don't you worry.
We'll get there. It's all fine.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into some of the changes personnel-wise.
Yeah.
Because boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of those to talk about. Starting with a coaching change.
That was a tough one.
That is a very tough one. Tough one for me, too. We all know how big of a fan AJ Gass, I'm a huge AJ Gass fan in the first place. I loved him as a coach, and I saw him really developing that special teams into something for next year. So he's left the team for personal reasons. Chris Rippon, I believe is how you say that correctly?
Sure. It's Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Is taking up to take the special teams coordinator spot. And then Derek Oswald adds assistant special teams coordinator with his defensive assistant title.
Right.
And Cam Robinson is going to take over as the linebackers coach because AJ was doing that as well.
Right. So we actually get one new coach in there to replace AJ, and then other people are sort of stepping up. So I think we still had a lot of special teams experience in our coaching staff, either coaching previously or as a player. We forget Noel Thorpe.
Yeah.
Was a special teams coordinator here, an incredibly successful one. So I think we'll be okay there. Yes, I would have loved to have had AJ here, someone who dedicated just to the special teams. Yeah. But we do, with Chris Rippon. So it would have been nice to keep AJ here just because we all love him.
Yes.
Plus, he did, volunteer once the restrictions are over to come and sign my locker. But
he may still do that.
That's true. Jedi did say that he could just sit there in his towel on the locker like old time's sake.
That's nice of her.
Yeah, she's giver that
way. Oh my! Yes, so, that's what I was thinking.
And I'm like, and I'd be like, sure, what the hell?
Sure, yeah, that's right. At this point, really, it's all good
for old time's sake.
It's make an excellent picture for your wall.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
Right? Yeah. That's the same webcam that's going to training camp. It's already set up at your house for that, right? That's.
I'm sure of it.
Sure. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, excellent. I think it'll be interesting to see. And again, one of those things where I really wish we could see some practices just to see Chris Rippon and see what he does differently. But you're right about Noel Thorpe. Now, was that when Winston October was there, or was that with Tristan Jackson?
It was after.
It was Tristan Jackson.
Yeah, it was Jackson.
Okay. And then, but the other part of that, I was going to say, you were talking about Coach Elizondo even started out in special teams, right?
Yep,
so,
exactly.
So we do have enough experience to kind of help those things along.
Winston October also, he has a little bit of special teams experience himself returning. So
it's like he was on the field. He was good at it.
That's how good he was.
Exactly. So I think there's some good support there. So always sad to see AJ go and hope that he can return at some point. But yes, it is definitely a good fill-ins with the guys that we've got coming in. So that'll be good. Now let's talk about some should we talk signings or should we talk retirements first? Because both are huge lists.
I was going to say retirements are bigger, so let's start with the signings.
Let's start with the signings. Okay, so they started with long snapper Chad Rempel, Sherwood Park native, who has been in the league for many years, mostly with Winnipeg. And I loved when you messaged me right away and said, well, that was a long time between signings.
Second longest, yes.
So,
well, but we signed him in 2007.
Right.
So 14 years later,
wow.
He is finally going to don the green and gold. Well, he did wear it in training camp that year, but should be entertaining to see the least.
Wow.
He'd be the world's oldest rookie.
Well, it's good to, have things.
2004, sorry, not 2007. 2004 we drafted.
2004. And so
to put it in perspective, we drafted him 3 years before we drafted Calvin McCarty.
Wow, that's amazing.
So,
that'll be fun. I'm excited to see.
17 years between his stints in green and gold.
The one thing I guess we can say though is that at least when you're coming in behind Kinger, it's nice to have some experience there.
100%.
Yeah, and I realized the way that I worded that was not appropriate, but still, it was. I just meant
phrasing.
Exact. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, who else did we sign? We signed from the draft from this year, defensive lineman Cole Nelson out of the University of Alberta, linebacker Grant McDonald, and offensive lineman Peter Cortis. So those are all good ones to have in there. Then one of the big shockers for me and the exciting ones for me, co-host Kenny is back in green and gold. And
100%.
Oh, I can't wait to see Kenny again, and I'm so excited that he's back, and even just on the leadership side of things, I think it'll be huge.
And I think that he had his sort of most success when he's not the feature back. I mean, yes, he's extremely talented. He's got great hands. He's got speed. But when you have to make it so he's an option, and you've also got Darrell Walker, and you've also got Greg Ellingson, and you've got Armonte Edwards, and all these pick your poison.
Yeah.
So that's when he really can exploit those, those one-on-one matches.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I said is sometimes he can get lost. But that's when he explodes for that big play. So that's what we want. Yay, go host Kenny. Then we bring back the monster of the O-line, Matt O'Donnell, who now becomes the longest serving Elks player, I believe.
Yeah. For a number of years, absolutely. I think the earliest would still be Sean Lemon because he left. Well, I guess the earliest is Chad Rempel.
Yeah. Since, fair.
He did start 17 years ago, but I mean, for a number of seasons, definitely Matty O is got to be up there. And let's face it, at the right guard position or left guard, wherever they're going to slot him, he's traditionally been right guard, but who knows what they're going to do this year with the new coach? He anchors that line.
Yeah.
So I mean, with the big men we have at the tackle spot, it's going to take you 3 weeks just to get around that line. So
well, and the other good part is that if we run into an issue with tackle, he can slide out. He didn't.
Absolutely.
He didn't do poorly when he was out there in 19 when he had to cover, right? So
right, and then we've got a couple of guys as well that could possibly back up in that spot as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's exciting. Then we signed quarterback Drew Anderson. He's undrafted, but then played with the Arizona Cardinals in 2019. So some decent stats. It'll be interesting to see when a guy like that comes up here what he can do. And when we get to the retirements part, we'll figure out why that happened.
I mean, I saw some of his film. I mean, everybody's film always looks great. They're not going to be like, here's some film where I didn't play so good, but I wanted to keep it all balanced. But the stuff I saw he looked great. So I think he'll fit in really well with the wider field.
I think I was going to say I liked his rollout. Like it was a decent speed, but then he could gun it to that sideline fairly well. So I'm okay. That's the way you start, right? Not everyone comes in and rolls out like Warren Moon, and I don't expect him to. But it's kind of neat to see a nice rollout with that zip on the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, who else did we have here? Oh, defensive lineman Che Hill, So that was a new one for me. And then bringing back offensive lineman Justin Renfro, which
that's going to be great.
Yeah, and friend of the pod. So that's exciting.
Absolutely.
That makes it even better right there.
We were starting to lose some of those because we had such a plethora of American tackles under contract, and all of a sudden we started seeing them more and more retire, which we will be getting to. I started wondering, okay, well, who are we going to have in the tackle spot? So it's nice having Sir Vincent back, of course, and Renfro, who can slot in at tackle or guard.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about some of these retirements, because I think that's the biggest thing right now that seems to be kind of going around the league is retirements, and the big thing is it's
and releases.
And it's not just hitting our team though. Like it's every team is having that shuffle right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone trying to get down to 100 players and all those kind of things. So, but I mean, there were some big ones for us for sure. So, you start with Derek Dennis, the guy we basically had slotted in at one of the tackle positions, right?
Exactly.
Then the only name that ever came close to my own, well, except for the fact that you found that guy that played in, what was it, 27?
Oh no, like 1912.
Was it 12? Oh, okay, yeah. But AJ Hotchkiss, so close.
So close.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, so he retired. This one was a surprise for me. Evan Machibroda.
Yes, he has been getting a lot of hype from not only other players, but former players and alumni of the team have saying this was a kid to watch at the defensive tackle spot. So I was really excited to see him hopefully getting some reps there. But unfortunately, I mean, people unretire, as we've seen with our star running back. So
True.
Who knows?
Yeah. I thought Evan was probably high up on the list of candidates for the Jimmy Gaines Award. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Other retirements. Kevin Elliott retired same time as we signed co-host Kenny. Forrest Hightower, which is another tough one.
That was a blow.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. That secondary is there's still some, I mean, still better than I think what we had before, but it's
right.
That was a bit of a notch there.
Yeah, that's gonna be some of the toughest spots is to fill those halfback spots, I think. Because I mean we was pretty solid when we had Grimes on one side and Hightower on the other, and then you've got Mincy and Rose. I thought that's one of the best secondaries that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So we'll talk about who's left in a minute. Alex Taylor retiring.
Again, another guy I thought really could take that next step.
Yeah, exactly. Out of the running back position. We're getting a little bit thin at running back, so we'll have to see if there's other ones that are coming in after that. Jimmy Ralph, which unfortunately doesn't get to play for his hometown team. We were hoping to see him play on there. And then now Dave Campbell has announced these other ones. They haven't been officially announced by the team, but Dave Campbell had said Jordan Robinson, which is a tough one because we love to talk to Mama Robinson. And,
absolutely.
And he was kind of developing into that kind of kick returner guy that I wanted to see more. So J.S. Waugh, so he leaves after his second stint with the team. Harry McMaster, so a Canadian receiver. Anthony Parker, another Canadian receiver that was basically slotted in to start as a Canadian receiver, I would think.
Right.
Jonathan Walton, and I know that was a tough one for you.
Yeah, I thought Walton was phenomenal on special teams. He's a backup linebacker as well. He was just a machine out there. He was all over the field on returns and cover. It is a shame, but it's been a year and a half with these guys, and a lot of them are moving on to the second part of their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next one, quarterback Jeremiah Briscoe, and that's why we signed the other quarterback to bring in. So then Randy Richards, so another tackle, going down American tackle. So that's when you see those, that's like, okay, well, we've got some guys that we need to kind of fill in some spots here. Again, I want to repeat those. At least it's not just the Elks, because we're looking at Natea J.
Ottawa's getting hammered.
Oh, absolutely. Brad Sinopoli, Brendan Labatt, Kenny Ladler, Courtney Stephen, and then Alex Mateus, I know, saying today. Like, there's some big names across. And we thought that this may happen, where you might have some of those veteran guys that are like, you know what? I can make as much money in this other job that I've been doing for a year, and it's less beating up my body, right?
And staying home, you get to see your family. If you have young kids, do you want to go away for 4 or 5 months and not see your family as well? So, especially for the Americans, where you have lower taxes, you're getting paid in U.S. dollars, and you get to go home to your family every night after work. So, I certainly don't begrudge anyone for doing it. I wish they would have stayed selfishly, but you understand why.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But even guys like Derek Dennis, who basically just said, well, don't call it a retirement, right? But it is a retirement, kind of. So you never know, right? And it could have something to do too with the shortened season, right? The prorated season that could definitely make a difference as well. So, there's lots going on there. So now that we've talked about all that, was there any YouTube questions that have come up as we're going through?
Let's take a look here. So we did start off. We are still celebrating number 200, which is great.
I did fix that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. And then there was a problem with the audio, which we did fix. Anyway, so we did talk about. Coach Vic was saying his first thought: west of us? ?
Oh, interesting. Well, I think that's going to come down to: are we allowed to do that? Right.
Absolutely. And then related to that, David Winchester also was talking about tailgate. Said tailgating should be fun the first home game. I don't know if we're going to be allowed to do that either.
Correct. Yeah. And that's something that I wonder if things like that they'll hold off on.
Right.
And it's tough to say. I mean, the province is saying full steam ahead, so who knows, but they might have different restrictions just because of the return to play plan, right? So we'll have to see how that goes.
What else we got here? Leanne, aka Cosmic Rhubarb, has a question. Besides mine, whose off-season retirement surprised you the most?
I think out of all of that list,
I've got to go with Evan Metrobroda.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Completely shocked me as a guy that we finally signed, has never played a game for us.
Yeah.
We drafted him in 2019. He never got to play a game with us. And, now he's gone. And we will never – I mean, unless he unretires, we're not going to get a chance to see him play, and that is a shame.
That is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was the first name that was popping to me, but the other one that kind of jumped to was Forrest Hightower. And I know he's been in the league a number of years, but that one kind of surprised me because I thought he was really excited to be part of that secondary, and just because it was going to be so good. So that one kind of jumped out at me for sure. Any other questions?
Let's see. So Tim from the Alouettes flight deck said that it is going to be weird that Edmonton isn't coming to Montreal for the first time in 42 years. I don't know if that's entirely accurate. We didn't go there in 95, that's for sure, because there were no L's between 87 and 95. But I get what he means. And then he said he spoke with Herb Zukowski of the Gazette. Looks like media will be limited to virtual interviews only during camp and the start of the season.
Oh, interesting. Okay, which... Again, kind of makes sense. You look at the NHL and that they're all still virtual interviews.
Yep.
And that's great. I would like the ability to have that conversation. But I would also really like to. It's one thing to interview a guy. It's another thing to be able to sit either, like I said, in the press box or in the upper deck or whatever it is, and actually just watch to see who's the guy that stands out to you, right? I know you and I do that a lot. We're like, watch this number. Okay, that guy's good, right?
Can't have a Jimmy Gaines Awards if you don't know who's the best guy at camp.
Right? So, I mean, just for that. Come on.
What else got for questions here? Last one we got is, again, from David Winchester. He's asking, is there a specific game on this schedule that you're looking forward to most?
Oh, my. Well, let me pull that schedule back up just so that I can have a quick peek here. I mean, it probably goes without saying, but for me, the Labor Day rematch this year,
right?
Even the Labor Day game, especially because of kind of how we're being able to do a bit more in Alberta, like
Right.
I think those could be huge. And there's a chance that we could go into Labor Day with both teams undefeated, which would be crazy.
And then it'll just be us.
That's right. I like your thinking.
Yeah.
For me, you get Ryan DNA over the off season, or what's going on?
Well, someone had to have that. I think for me, the obvious answer is going to be the first one. That first game on August 7th, it's at home. If we are allowed in the stands, even if all of us aren't and some of us have to watch on TV, we're getting to watch some live football for the first time in almost 2 years. And I got to tell you, there's going to be some tears, there's going to be some hugs, there's going to be definitely some beers and gins and wings and the whole bit. So it's going to be great to get back into that routine, talking with the football family, either by texting or in person, and just getting some live football. And I can't wait. I mean, it's 5 weeks from now, almost, just a little under. So
yeah, just a little. Well,
soon,
a month away if you go just by dates, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Before CFL starts, I guess a couple more days before we get our home opener. But yeah, I hope that we can be there, because the first time they run out on the field as the Elks, I'm curious what the plan is and how that kind of gets launched. And
right.
To me, that's just another exciting. I mean, I'm excited to have football back, but then the launch of the franchise under this name, that's you're right. That is a huge one for me too.
Give me a lot of Elk calls in the stands.
Oh yes, and you're right. Tons of tears. I'm well prepared for that. Lots of
happy tears. Yeah.
Oh yes. Thank God we're back. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, now before we get into the depth chart a little bit, we did have some other releases. Lots of these guys are guys that never stepped on the field for us or we had never seen before, but there's a couple of names on there. I did want to say the long snapper Zach Greenberg, just because he was the one that initially was signed to take over from Kinger. Correct. And then they swapped out to get Rempel, which was a little bit of a different one. National fullback Mitch Raper that was drafted last year, right? Yeah, and he has now signed in Ottawa, is my understanding. I thought I saw that just the other day. So, and then national fullback Alexandre Dupuis. So he obviously played the one season with us. Now has signed back in Montreal. So that, but a name that we know. And then the last one was wide receiver Josh Stangby.
Yeah, Jose Romero as well is the guy that we released. He was the other Mexican we had from the Mexican draft. Right. We had drafted 3 originally and signed 2 of them mostly in the practice roster. He wasn't living here in town versus Diego Villamontes, who obviously has made a home in Edmonton. Yeah. And if you do live in the Edmonton area and have not gone to CH Cafeteria, you really owe it to yourself to get down there, because that is an incredible experience. So
that's a good plug. That's a good plug right there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we only go about 4 times a week, so it's not bad.
Only 4?
Well, some of us only go 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, you only go 4 times a week. Okay, yeah.
No, I only go once a week.
Is that what it is? Okay, all right. Just thought I'd check that.
I don't drink coffee, but yeah.
I know. Me either, but I'm excited to go for the...
But I eat chocolate.
Who doesn't?
It's true.
Yeah. All right, then. Let's talk about this depth chart a little bit, because there's going to be some interesting battles at camp.
Yeah, I've got to think there's going to be some sort of changes as well. You mentioned Jean-Sébastien Waugh retiring. That leaves no backup at the center position for someone who's naturally played center.
Right.
We're either going to shift somebody over. I mean, to be fair, that's what we did with Beard. Beard was a guard, and we moved him over to center. And obviously, he's done exceptionally well at that position. So someone's going to have to go into that spot. I don't know who it's going to be, but that's going to be an interesting battle as well.
I could be wrong. I thought Saxlid had played some center way back.
He's a tackle. He was a left tackle in the college.
Okay, maybe I misread that. I know when these depth charts came out, there were a few things that I kind of went, what? Like, they have Sir Vincent Rogers backing up O'Donnell at right guard.
Yeah, that's just a little odd. They also had Tavon Smith as an import, so...
Yeah, that's... if it was Wilson right now, he'd be like,
Well, he's that way anyway, to be fair.
He just twists his head like, what? What are you talking about? You're nuts. Hey, if you ever want to realize how much of a creature of habit you are, get a dog. Because, oh my God, like he's 7 months old, right? But we take him for walks in about 10 or 10:30 because that's when it cools off. So every night at about 10:15. You ready? Like, are we going?
Yep. It's time to go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Pitter patter.
Funny. Yeah. All right. So let's start at the offensive line. We'll work our way down. The starters that they have listed here on this depth chart from CFL.ca was Tommy Draheim at left tackle, Jacob Ruby at left guard, Beard at center, Matt O'Donnell at right guard, and Colin Kelly at right tackle. So now some of the other names that are in there that you and I have talked about. We've got Kyle Saxlett, of course. We've got Kobina Asari. We've got Sir Vincent Rogers. We've got Jack Kurtula. Tomas, is that how you say it? Tomas Jack Kurtula? Yeah.
Yes.
And even Gangarosa is there. And
Chris Gangarosa,
And then we've signed Peter Cordes as well.
And Nielsen as well, the Danish player.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes. So there's lots of options for people to go in. Do you see anybody being unseated, or if you had to pick your starting five out of that, where would you go?
Well, I mean, I've got to think that Draheim and Kelly aren't necessarily going to be those starting tackles on day one on the home opener, especially not when you've got someone like Sir Vincent Rogers, who is not only an all-star at the position, but was most outstanding offensive lineman at the left tackle's position. And then, as you say, with Justin Renfro coming back as well.
Absolutely.
Who is not on the depth chart because it came before he re-signed. So, I mean, those could easily be our starting tackles as well. I think the interior is going to stay with O'Donnell, Beard, and Ruby. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of success, I thought, last year we played. Mm-hmm. We let up the least amount of sacks in the league. And a lot of those sacks were when Harris wasn't even playing. So fully half of them were actually on a different quarterback, on Logan Kilgore or whatever.
Exactly.
So, so I think that, like I said, the interior is going to stay the same. It's really going to be that tackle spot. But that being said, Jack Cardilla and Chris Gangarosa, as well as Saxlid, maybe taking that next step, I think all could be pushing for some really rotations.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think Saxlid is really the wild card there. I mean, he got in his rookie season.
He's Canadian,
exactly. Yeah, come on now,
he could spell Canada.
That's true. Yeah,
you're a national.
Yay, that's wonderful. The fact of the matter is that in his rookie season, he played both tackle and guard and did well. So
he was not horrible at that left tackle spot.
And so he's still going to be under that 3-year rookie contract.
Right.
That's a guy that he all of a sudden could be making a bit of a challenge to guys like Jacob Ruby, right? So that could be very interesting. And Jack Cardilla, I hope I say that right. I know
we'll ask him.
I hope so. Yeah, I'd like to. I think that he was when we drafted him last year, he was the most ready to play. That was what they were saying.
Yes.
Most CFL ready. So again, is he pushing, or is he the sixth guy? Who knows? It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of times when they get a sixth guy, they want someone that can play at multiple positions, just because you don't want to have to shift this guy over and then that guy over and this guy just to slot in that sixth guy.
Right.
So they might stick him on the practice roster to start, or maybe we'll see. A lot of teams have those rookie linemen that do make the lineup at a camp. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they push at camp. Maybe we'll see 4 nationals on that offensive line. We don't know.
Oh man, could you imagine? That'd be all right.
A lot of flexibility.
Yep, absolutely. Not complaining about any of those names.
No.
That seems like a strong group. So let's drop back to quarterback. So
that's
we know who the starter is, right?
Yes.
So now we've got in the running, we've got Williams, Cornelius, and Anderson all in the running for that backup. So it would be interesting to see who kind of takes over that second spot. But the only thing with that for me is that offensive line better be good, because, oh my goodness, we don't want T Sniper going down.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some quarterbacks out there that are with experience that are going to get let go after camp. I mean, how many does Toronto have? I think they got 12 quarterbacks now under contract.
Well, to go along with their 24 linebackers, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think you're going to see somebody with experience getting let go, and I could see us making a call. Maybe not right away. Maybe it's going to be only if Trevor is up there. But at the same time, having someone with experience in the film room with Trevor and bouncing ideas off is also really helpful, even if they don't see the field. So I'd like to see us with someone with a little more experience, as much as I'd like to see Williams and Anderson and Cornelius play, get some reps, but that's just the most important position on the field. You need somebody there that's been there before.
Somebody call Kevin Glenn.
Yes.
Come on now.
No?
Oh, okay, just checking. Okay, let's go to who that quarterback will be throwing to. We'll go to all of our receivers, and there are plenty. So the ones they have slotted in this depth chart as the starters: Darrell Walker.
Yep.
Armonte Edwards.
Yep.
Greg Ellingson.
Yes.
Tavon Smith. And Mike Jones.
Who?
Well done. I appreciate that you've remembered that joke, even though we've been off recording for a while.
It's, I wrote it in the show notes.
The Podski Wee boys are very proud of you.
Yes. As
am I. Yes.
Yes, good.
Okay. So that's a pretty killer starting receiving core.
It's not bad.
And
that's, we didn't even mention Kenny Stafford.
Well, I was just going to say, so let's go into like one level down. Now we've got Kenny Stafford. We've got Bryce Bobo.
Kenny Shaw.
I thought Kenny Shaw retired. I thought he retired or got released. I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't have it in all the notes, but I thought maybe it's because he's kind of been back and forth. Maybe he's on right now. Okay, so Kenny Shaw is another name. Shai Ross, Danny Vandervoort.
Shai Ross has got a lot to live up to.
Absolutely. Rodney Smith, also known as?
Just going to call him Rodney Smooth.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, and then Diego Villamontes, of course, as well. So, my goodness, there is going to be some challenges there. Who makes that roster? And I'm not even talking about the third guys, like on the depth chart. Like that's
you've a lot like Malik Richards, right?
Right, absolutely. Like oh my goodness, there's a lot of guys.
Shakir Ryan.
Oh, I forgot that was Shakir Ryan. I was trying to figure out who that was. Oh, wow. Okay. As a possible returner, too, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm kind of cheering for J.J. Jones.
Yep.
Just so people will have to call him Janardrian. I'm especially looking at you, Brian Hall.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That would also be the Brian that we talked about at the beginning of the show. That would probably be one of his favorite names for sure.
Oh, no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a ton of guys on there, and I'm curious to see who is going to who's going to land, but going to be hard to unseat that top five.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty solid. They're going to have some rotation in there.
Yep.
So especially for some of the Canadian guys, making some of that special teams kind of stuff. So, but it's going to be hard to keep Kenny Stafford out from at least rotation on a game-by-game basis.
Absolutely.
That's going to keep everyone fresh too. I don't know if they'll be really happy even if you're collecting a check, but you're not on the 45.
Okay.
That's going to be tough for some of these guys. But at the same time, if that means that you're doing what's best for the team, and that means you're going to have some of these guys, like maybe Armonte Edwards sets and Kenny Stafford comes in for a game, or it's a high class problem.
Absolutely, we're going to have 6,000 yard receivers. Yeah. First time ever.
And I just want to see Shai Ross's touchdown celebration. So.
Yeah, I hope somebody can hand him an Oreo so that he can do that properly, because that would be amazing.
Right, the dunk.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? That would be incredible. What a celebration.
It'd be worth the fine.
He does the dip on the way over. Okay, that was pretty incredible. At some point, we're going to have to talk to him about that, because I don't know how he had that idea in the first place, much less to do it.
Well, we talked to Diego at CH Cafeteria about that, and he said he only did a couple of takes. That was like the second take.
Seriously. Holy man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's impressive.
That's crazy. Yeah. So
Bill says that he sees a new fan game for the timeouts. The Oreo dunk.
I could also, I'm not going to be allowed to do that, but still.
No, you are not.
Actually, they should do it like in the basketball games where they have the little portable trampolines, and as you hit it and have to flip over and see if you can hit it properly. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't think our insurance is that good.
Oh, come on. That'd be fine.
Liability.
Great big blow up, parachute bag to catch you. It'd be great.
Yeah,
No? Okay. All right. Well, it's good to try. Who do you think out of all of those receivers, who's going to have the biggest year?
Oh, that's going to be tough.
No, that's like
our Monty Edwards is a guy that was so close to getting 1,000, finally got 1,000 in his last season. I think he could be poised for a breakout just because so many defenses are going to be keying on the big two in Ellingson and Walker. Mm-hmm. I think Edwards could have a monster year, much like Ricky Collins Jr. had, playing with Greg Ellingson. Because they're covering him so much, you've got some, secondary guys that are good enough to be starter, like the first guy on any other team, are going to have massive years.
Yep, that's fair. We're going to do bold predictions next week, and we're going to do our way too early standings and all those things next week. But this is my one bold prediction.
I know who you're going to pick, but yeah.
What's that?
I know who you're going to pick.
You know who I'm going to pick now? Okay.
Yeah. My
bold prediction this year, Tavon Smith goes off this year, because he was just coming into it at the end of 2019. He's got another year. He's got another. He's playing it with Trevor again. I think Tavon has a massive year, and I'm gonna love every minute of it. And then I'm gonna text Tree and say, "Hey, do you know who that kid is?" Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, your favorite spot, running back / halfback.
That's tough because you've let some people go.
We have. So in the running back position right now, we have, of course, James Wilder Jr. We have scary Terry Williams. We have Fletcher, who I cannot remember his first name. It's very helpful.
Walter.
Thank you, Walter Fletcher. That's just at running back.
And Marvin Kinsey.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that one. Well done. Yeah.
So,
I mean, again, pretty confident it's going to be James Wilder Jr. I'd be curious to see if they rotate between him and Terry Williams, though.
I think it's going to depend, especially if Terry is going to be our primary returner. They really don't want to overwork him or risk a chance of him getting injured.
Fair.
And then having to go down the depth chart on those returns.
Yeah, that's fair. And again, that will come back to, is Shai Ross returning? Is Shakir Ryan returning?
Diego Villamontes.
Right? Like, are those guys going to be returners? Or is that the backup if, say, Wilder gets hurt and then Williams has got to take over as a starting running back to one of these other guys go in? So that should be rather interesting. At fullback, I think it's pretty much a given that it's Tanner Green. He is the heir apparent to Calvin, and so I'm excited to see. And of course, 27 back on the field. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think Pete Sender is going to be a bit of a dark horse as well. Okay. He seemed to be somebody that had a lot of the right tools when we saw him in the last training camp in 2019. Plus, he's a great guy in the locker room. They love that guy. Okay. And he's funny. Like, he's a stand-up comedian in his off job.
Is he? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his side hustle, is doing stand-up comedy, and he's apparently hilarious. So, I'd watch for that guy. And Tuck, I mean, we can't not have Tuck on teams. I was going to say, that guy's a beast.
Special teams monster. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Both playing and just in size. That guy's enormous. Yeah. So, I'm excited to have him back. But now I'm thinking we have to get Sender on the show.
Yes.
That might be kind of fun. Yeah.
That would be fun.
Somebody who actually knows how to tell jokes other than not me. That'd be good.
I don't know what you're talking about. We tell great jokes.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think you do.
Just ask people we live with.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm reacting the way I am. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how she reacts. So, all right.
I'm not talking about all the people.
Oh, all the people.
Okay.
I have one that thinks I'm funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
we'll start at the line again and work our way out. I don't know about you, but I mean, I know we lost a couple of guys, but the defensive line is likely the strength of this team. Would you agree?
Yeah, it has been for a long time too. I mean, in 2019, it certainly was a strength as well. I think that when you've got guys like Mike Moore and Jake Serezna in the middle, who are both phenomenal at the tackle spot, even with the loss of Mondo, which cannot be understated.
Absolutely.
I think we are either we're going to be great at that. I would have loved to have seen us being able to rotate in Evan Machabrota. But it's going to be interesting to see now. These guys used to get so many sacks because they were beside Mondo, who was getting the double team every time.
Right.
So they were able to sneak in. Now that they don't have Mondo, this is their chance to step up and show that, yes, they are that good. So I'm looking forward to that. And then you've got Boateng and Betts, Sean Lemon on the other side. I think we're a little weak on that American defensive end side.
Oh, maybe.
So,
yeah, that's entirely possible. But I mean,
we've got Sean Lemon, but behind him, it's going to be interesting.
Well, but I mean, what did we sign? Like 10 different defensive linemen just to try and take a shot at that corner. So, so it should be interesting. But I know that, up the middle, I'm not worried about it at all.
No.
It's and of course, I'm not worried about Kwaku at all because he's had another year to train and he's...
Exactly.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. I wonder at any point if we might see Kwaku on one side and Betts on the other.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have enough backups for that. So.
Well, not permanently. I just meant rotationally, right? Like if you had Kwaku and Lemon and Betts, and they're kind of rotating out for each other.
Entirely possible, for sure.
I wonder what that would be like. That'd be kind of interesting to me.
I just want to see us get Cates on the field just so we can have a guy that's named Justin Cates.
Perfect.
Come on. That just writes itself.
Well, I want to see Alain Pay get on the field because he was that draft pick that we all went, huh? And
he was,
every time
he was a guy they tried to get as a global.
Right.
And Ottawa was really hot for him, so I think that's why we took him.
Well, and I'm just every time that we have one of those guys where I think, well, what do you mean you picked that guy? Then they always stand out. Like Brock gets those guys that you're like, I didn't expect that at all. And to me, that was Saxlid, right? Wow,
Absolutely.
That name came out of nowhere, and then that guy is coming in and showing up.
Cole Nelson as well this last year.
Absolutely. So we'll see if he actually is there as a rotational guy as well.
Right.
Now let's move up to the linebacker position. So
this is going to be the bigger question marks for me.
I 100% agree, and that's the one of the thing that I was going to say is usually in our linebacking core. Really confident with it.
Yep.
Not to say that we don't have good guys. It's more the depth part that I'm a little worried about.
It's the experience in the middle.
Absolutely. So, Vontae Diggs coming back in at weak side.
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that? What do you think?
No, I think he's going to try him out in the middle.
Well, but they're slating in Kevin Brown as the middle one.
But he's an outside linebacker usually. So
okay, well we'll see what happens. See, the thing is that Kevin Brown played already for coach. Good Lord, my brain just shut off. Who's
Elizondo?
No, the defensive coach Thorpe.
Noel Thorpe.
There it is. Yeah. It took me a second to rotate the hamster wheel there, and he played for him in Ottawa. So maybe Thorpe already knows he can command the defense being in the middle, right? And then, of course, our short side Walker.
Brian Walker.
That's a given. Now, interesting, though, because they've moved up. Is it Caleb Ham, I believe it is? Tracy Ham's son. Because they usually had him, or when he was here in 2019, he was slotted in more as a halfback. But now he's in as a backup in that short side linebacker position.
Well, he was never here in 2019.
I thought
so.
Or was it?
No, we signed him in February of first day of free agency.
Oh,
2020.
Okay, and then I saw him on that depth chart. Sorry.
Yeah, the 2020 depth chart.
So the one that never happened. That one. Yeah, but I'm interested to see.
He was great.
Coming in.
But,
I'm sure he was. He was amazing. Yeah. Look at his last name. He was amazing. He can run like the wind. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Although if he's built like his dad, he can run people over. That's for sure. Because
that's for sure.
No, I thought that was interesting to see him in that linebacking position instead.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, the strong side linebacker spot is sort of a nickelback position.
True.
It's sort of that hybrid kind of body type, somewhere between a linebacker and a defensive halfback. So, if he's a bigger guy coming into camp, like we haven't seen these guys in a year and a half.
Right.
So, what do we know what their training regimen's like? Much like when we saw Kwaku Boateng in 2019, he was massive.
Yeah.
Compared to what he'd been in 2017 and 18.
That's true.
And because the coaches said they wanted him to put on some size. So maybe some of these guys put on some weight, some muscle, and they're ready for that spot.
Yeah, that could be it. Absolutely. Other names that we have in here, Brian Pittman, of course, we know him from a couple of years ago. And McDonald is the new guy, the new draft pick. So that should be interesting to see what he can do. And of course, Royer, is it Royer or Royer?
Rouillet.
So he was here, of course, in 2019 as well. So that'll be interesting to see what goes there. Any of those other names that you knew or were interested in?
I'm going to see Malik Tyne is sort of at the bottom of that list. I think he might move up a bit.
Okay.
Pittman for sure. Walton, I think, might see a little more time. He's been here for a little while now. So
Walton retired, did he not?
Right. He's retired. Grant McDonald.
Right.
He came out of the Calgary program, which as much as it pains us to say it, they've got a pretty solid program there. So maybe we'll see another Canadian linebacker that really moves up the depth chart. So
entirely possible. There's so many of these other guys though, Clements, Biera, where we've never seen them and we don't really know what can happen there. So that'll be interesting. Now we'll move back to the secondary, which in past years has always made us gasp in worry. I feel a little more confident this year.
That's because no one's wearing 23.
That's very true. Yeah, exactly.
That's why you're so confident.
We don't have anybody who can run really fast but can't cover anything. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
There's always somebody.
So we're starting on the corner with Jonathan Rose coming across to Aaron Grimes. Safety position, they have Jermaine Gabriel as the starter, although we know Hoover started there before, so I'm sure there'll be... Actually, it should be a good battle there between Gabriel, Hoover, and Bully.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that battle. And then now they have Jonathan Mincy as a halfback, but I am going to guess that he's going to play the other corner.
Yeah.
And is it Tremaine Washington? No.
Yes.
That will be playing likely that halfback spot, or at least at this particular moment, that's where it looks like he'll.
That's what I would think.
Yep. Now, I did see on here, Priester is back, and I know that you really he stood out to you in 2019.
He's got some really good recovery speed, I found, like if he was out of position, because he's a younger guy. When we saw him in camp in 2019. So he was able to close that gap when the ball was in the air really fast. He's a smaller guy, if I remember right. He's like 5'8", 5'9" kind of thing. So not out of place as a cornerback, or at least a halfback. So I'd like to see him get a shot because, like I said, his wheels were very impressive.
Yeah, I agree. And Scott Hutter too. I remember in 2019 we heard from a lot of people on the team, and just talking amongst ourselves, it's like, yeah, that kid gets it. Like he's gonna be he's more of your typical safety, but I think he might be able to slot into that halfback spot at some points too.
Yeah, he thinks the game really well, so we will see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. There wasn't any other names on there that really stood out to me. Any for you?
No, not really. Eric Blake. We've got a lot of Canadians on there that we haven't seen play, because we have a couple of draft years in there, the 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. We don't have 100 people on the roster at this point, I don't think, based on the names we've read off that either have been announced or Dave Campbell has said. I think we're down to 97, so we still have a few more spots that we could fill up. So we'll see how that goes with what they put in those spots. Or again, there's a lot of times you'll see cuts from other camps that make their way out here. So
yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know how that's going to pan out for sure.
Maybe we'll see some of those linebackers from Toronto.
Possibly. Most of our secondary was originally from Toronto, isn't it? That's okay.
Yeah, we've got a few.
A few of those, yeah. Either Ottawa or Toronto.
Yes, Ottawa.
All right, let's go back to some questions. I know Jerry had a few other questions for us, and I think that we answered them a little bit, but let's just go over them really quickly.
Sure.
Do we need to add quarterback experience to our depth? And you had already said that it'd be nice to have somebody there.
Yeah, again, not even just as a backup, but just for breaking down film with Trevor Harris and someone on the sidelines. It's more of a calming influence, knowing that if anything happens to Trevor, that everyone believes in that number 2 guy coming in and winning the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. He asked, what are our expectations for Wilder Jr.?
2,000.
2,000 and 1,000? 1,000 running? 1,000 receiving?
No, 2,000 running.
2,000 running. Oh, I like this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. That's Mike's favorite season. All run all the time.
Exactly. No, I think I really like to see that he's got some really good blocking in there. He's a bigger guy, so I think he can really put a body between, someone charging and our quarterback. But I'd like to see him out of the backfield. He had a couple hundred yards every time he played us, so it's kind of nice that at least now he's not playing against us, so hopefully he can get a couple hundred yards against every other team.
I would be okay with that. I have much higher expectations for him this year, only because I know that not higher than yours, don't get me wrong, but I have higher expectations in general because he's playing behind a bigger and better O-line. And one of the things that he had that was a problem in Toronto was that he would get the ball and be getting hit in the backfield because that O-line was not as strong. So I'm very curious to see if that, elevates him to be able to break those holes like he was doing in 2017, 2018. So, yeah.
So you're still saying 1,000 and 1,000?
Yeah, probably. No.
in 4 less games. I think that's fair.
Yeah, well, you know what? Hey, anything is possible.
Yes.
It's not, has everyone called that for Andrew Harris already? Somebody has. You have to know somebody has said he could do it, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's right.
His pharmacist. But, sorry, was that an outside voice?
No, but I loved it.
All right.
Yeah, keep up with that inside voice. That was amazing. Which new player are you most excited about seeing?
New as in...
it just says new, so I think we can take creative license with that and say anybody who is new to the Elks.
Okay, so someone that wasn't here last year kind of thing.
Or
I think...
Yeah, exactly.
I said it earlier, Armonte Edwards, I think is going to have a really solid season playing with, again, Ellingson and Walker, assuming he, gets in to the team. I mean, maybe Kenny is in that slot. I think whoever the third American receiver, I think, is going to be really interesting to watch. Kenny, of course, isn't new.
Right. But still.
But you know what I mean. And Sir Vincent Rogers. I mean, this is a guy that was supposed to be our starting left tackle in 2019, got injured in camp and didn't play. So I'm really excited to see what he can bring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go on the other side of the ball and say Jonathan Mincy. I am excited to see him back in the CFL and covering a corner. Between him and Jonathan Rose, it's been a while since we've had those guys that really kind of almost command that lockdown corner, and so I'm excited to see what those guys can do.
Absolutely. And in a related question, Leanne Cosmic Rhubarb had a random question: did any of the refs retire? Speaking of Jonathan Rose.
Wow, excellent segue, Superfan.
I'm not sure that any of the refs did retire, but they might get knocked into retirement.
We won't find out about that probably until we get closer to games. Right. But that reminds me, we should probably get our friend Bud Steen back on the show to get some. I'd like to hear his impression on how this is all going to go down with no preseason games.
Yes.
Can you say a lot of cloths on the field? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. They were shoving after shoving time? Yes. There'll be lots of that. After shoving time had ended, that's what it was. Okay, next question was, which roster loss do you feel hurts us the most? And that combines both free agent losses or retirees.
I'm going to go with Forrest Hightower. Okay. I think when we saw that original secondary with Grimes and Hightower at halfback and Rose and Mincy at corner, and then Gabriel or Hoover or whoever at that safety spot, I thought we were going to have a really strong secondary. So
okay.
That one to me hurt.
Yep, that's a big one. I am going back a bit only because it was, although he's signed a couple of plus spots, mine is Larry Dean. I still think that was a huge loss for us. And Justin Tuggle never signed anywhere again. Like we had the 1-year deal and that was it. And so I wasn't sure if he was going to be coming back. Now that's no slam against Kevin Brown. I thought he was a good pickup and I'm excited to see him play.
Yep.
But I mean, Larry Dean is a force in this league. And I thought that was a tough one to hurt a little bit there. So we'll see if these other guys can pick up and make it better for us.
For sure.
Any other questions on the feed there before we wrap up this evening there, Superfan?
No. I think we've got everything covered. Chris Agar was sort of repeating that with the time off and having that O-line that James Wilder Jr. should have a pretty monster year. So I'd like to see the coaches calling a little more for it. So even if it's just out of the backfield and receiving the ball, but we've got him on there. Let's have 6 targets.
Well, and that was a big thing with Elizondo in his last year as OC in Ottawa, right? He leaned heavily on those running backs. So, yeah. Are we going to see a wishbone this year, Superfan?
Oh, if it was up to me, we'd have a wishbone every play.
You don't say. Weird.
It's true.
Excellent.
We'll have 5 linemen, a quarterback, and then 6 running backs. It'll be great.
Perfect. I like the way this is all panning out. All right. Let's pay a couple of bills before we get out of here. This episode is also brought to you by the Well Endowed podcast by the Edmonton Community Foundation. Hosted by Andrew Paul and Elizabeth Bonkink, the podcast explores the impact of passionate people who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in. The Edmonton Community Foundation helps people create endowment funds, and the podcast tells the stories of how those endowments intersect with the community. Subscribe at thewellendowedpodcast.com. All right. Well, Superfan, as always, it's fun, and I'm so glad we are actually talking players and strategies and goals. Oh my goodness, it's very exciting. So I can't wait till we get to talk about actual plays. And wow, did you see that hit? And oh my God, that's a horrible call. Like that's those are the exciting things.
In French, okay.
That's wait. Are you implying?
No, he's my favorite referee in the entire league. What are you talking about?
That's right. Yeah, I know. He's mine too. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah. So next week we will be back. We're going to do some predictions about the season. Way too early predictions. We're going to do some bold predictions. Hopefully we'll have been able to talk a little bit about what's going on at camp.
Yes.
I hope. Yes.
We'll make it up anyway.
Exactly. And then maybe we'll do some history or horde things next week.
Yes.
Okay, that would be wonderful. So let's start with where does everybody find you on all of the socials?
Yeah, so they can find me at 56 Parkies, and then they can find the history segment under the new name at Edmonton History. That's at EDMHISTOREE.
Wonderful. Love it. Very good. Okay, and then you can, of course, find the commissioner at Duchess Lombardi on Twitter when she is on there every now and again. And congrats to her on her new house. Hopefully she will join us next week, and then she can tell us all about what it's like being a homeowner. Right? It's exciting.
That's why we've got headaches.
That's what I was thinking. All right. Also, make sure you're following Pay It Forward with Football.
100%.
They're gearing up for the season and reaching out to other players from around the league to expand their reach. So make sure that you're following them and all the great things they're doing. Check out all the great shows on the Canadian Football Podcast Network, cfpodnetwork.ca, and of course, tons of shows going back weekly now as we get back into training camp and all those fun things. And of course, make sure you check out all of the great shows on the Alberta Podcast Network at albertapodcastnetwork.com. I did a quick one that time.
You did.
I didn't want it to be too crazy. That's right. And of course, join in the huddle with us at the Turf District. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find us on all those spots, so make sure that you check that out. Like I said, we'll be back next week to do our bold predictions and our a little bit of way too early predictions on standings, etc., and who we think is going to have the biggest years. And then we'll have to take a couple of weeks break just as I move the Turf District. As you can see, these walls are a tad bare, but the new walls will be all set in the new place.
Oh, it's going to be very exciting. 2.0, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I have big plans. Big plans. But I'm probably going to need your help, though, Superfan. You're going to have to come over and help me set it all up. Yeah. But we'll make it happen. It's going to be lovely.
That's right. I'm reasonable.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. Once again, the show is dedicated to Brian Edwards and
100%.
One of the greatest CFL fans and your friend if you're a fan of the CFL. And so thank you to all the memories for him and thank you to everyone that has posted online about him because he deserves
Thanks for sharing the love.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for Commissioner Kayla and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you, next week.
Woo!
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.